Forktales, a podcast that feeds the food and beverage world. Forktales is brought to you by Pavone Group and Vigor, a branding and marketing agency for restaurant, beverage, and hospitality brands. Learn more at vigorbranding.com. If you love what we're serving up, please give Forktales a 5-star review on your podcast service of choice. Think of it as a tip for good service.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. It was, I've done thousands of pitches, over the years, thousands, but this one was, I never had one that was, quite the same, filmed where, it's going to be viewed by everyone and with everyone's full ego and energy and enthusiasm coming for television, in terms of the judges on the other side. So, it was quite an experience.
That's awesome. So I read somewhere that entrepreneurs who appear on the show are required to meet with a show psychologist afterwards, just to make sure you weren't beat up too bad or tortured by the experience. Was that true? Did you guys talk to somebody afterwards?
That's 100% true. It was 100% true. I remember when they told us before, I was like, that's weird. And then afterwards, it was nice to talk. Like we were all very over the moon and excited. So
yeah.
It was nice to. They really, they've been doing it for 15 years. They know what they're doing. It's an impressive organization.
I mean, some family-owned companies, you and I know a lot of people have are part of family-owned companies. Some families require members and future leaders to spend time outside the company. Was your time required, and did you find that time valuable? And then, or did you always plan? I know you worked there when you were young. Did you always plan on coming back to the company? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. My time was not required. Frankly, when I got out of college, if I had come to work here, I would have been chopping cabbage. The executive positions were filled by my dad and my uncle. Such a tiny. We're small now. We were tiny back then. So I had to go somewhere else if I wanted to not wear jeans and be covered with cabbage and onions. And I think it was wildly helpful. Like when I came back, I had been, in charge of corporate accounting for a billion-dollar company in some areas. And my uncle was still doing pricing on a legal pad with his hand desk calculator. And I said, here's a spreadsheet, and it's going to instantaneously recalculate the cost of thousands of items in a millisecond. And he saw what that did. And he's like, can you do that every 90 days from now on? Having the discipline and learning and the networking was just fabulous.
We encourage our crew members just to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. It may be the 50th time you've welcomed someone to our restaurant, but it's the first time you've spoken to the person that's in front of you. And again, you don't know if they're going on vacation or they're going to a celebration of life to send a family member home. Regardless, you should be additive to their experience and not adding additional stress or complications. Just try to deliver them fast, friendly, exceptional service, because that's our standard. That is our vision for the company, which is being exceptional is our standard. It's not something that happens intermittently. It happens all the time. And so we welcome the chaos. When it's raining and snowing outside, even though your flights are delayed, we kind of welcome that because that means we get to hang out with you a little bit longer. Yeah. So as long as we're not canceling flights, if they're just delayed, that's kind of our sweet spot. So there you go. We welcome it all.
So, I mean, it was really interesting. And watching some of your videos and looking at the website, it is unique. I mean, American Indian cuisine. I mean, talk about that. What is that? What defines that?
So I love that question because whenever someone asks me, what is Native American cuisine? I don't know. And that's the whole point. Like, that's really where we're at. And I like to say that we're this beautiful experience of the Native culinary world because we're all so different. There's this idea of the Indian, right? But we're also drastically different dependent on region and tribal community and, with forced relocation, things like that. People bring their different values and traditions and culinary experience to what they do now. And so what is Native American food? What is Native or indigenous food? I always like to say that we are the oldest cultures on the continent, but in many ways we have the youngest cuisine because it's not clearly defined. Like you talk about Italian cuisine, it is very down to the regional dish in certain places. Well, we're currently developing that because we're reclaiming and developing. And now that you have cooks and chefs and restaurateurs and caterers, people are starting to define what our food is as a community. And it is very localized in many ways. It's very regional in many ways, but it also has a broader experience because we are so interwoven as a community.
There's very few people that will be able to allow brands to take advantage of these social trends at the peak of their virality and actually get them on a menu while consumers still care about it. But we also believe that is what brands need to do if they want to win with Gen Z, if they want to steal share from their competitors who, let's be honest, are very hard to differentiate today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the QSR landscape is very similar. And there's, you know, the chicken wars, the fry wars, the breakfast wars, now the value wars. There isn't a ton of differentiation. And, you know, having unique flavors, having LTOs, and leveraging emerging trends is a way to break that cycle and to get new traffic through your restaurants.
Do you use trends for your business for like that next big thing, or is it more of really just looking at the pieces and moving things around on the board?
We look at trends, we look at pieces. You know, a lot of our customers say, we like this item. Can you go out and find it for us? And we got people, or you know, in some cases we do a lot of business. Some of our customers say, here's an item, you know, here's a supplier, you know, you're a great importer. We want you to import it for us. So it just, because we're a trusted supplier, we're good at logistics, they actually given us business to handle, and it's exciting. And then we take that business and look at other opportunities as well.
Questions for both of you guys. Tell us a little about yourselves and how you came to be a part of the Golden Steer Steakhouse brand. And I guess there's like a love story or something else in there too, right?
There is. Okay. A little bit of everything.
So I'm born and raised in Las Vegas, fabulous Vegas. And my father actually purchased the restaurant back in 2001. And he did it because he loved the legacy and the story. And it was something that was really true and dear to his heart, as it is with many Vegas natives. Now, I left Vegas and went out to Chicago, where I met this lovely, charming gentleman. And at some point I said, hey, why don't we jump in? And since you got a bit of a background on the culinary side and I'm on the kind of data and marketing side, why don't we put our heads together and jump back in and return to Vegas and give it a shot?
Yeah, so we started out open till 8 o'clock at night. We had bone-on chicken. We added vegetables. We had a lot of different products. And to make a long story short, from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 5:30, it was pretty much dead. Mm-hmm. And when you're in the quick service business, people want a great product that's fresh. And you can imagine how difficult it is to do that when you really don't have much business between 1 and 5:30. And this was before snacking, you know, the snacking concept and the coffee concepts and people, you know, going to a restaurant in mid-afternoon really existed. So we dropped that day part, started closing at 2. Our food quality went up, our food costs went down, and our employees were much happier. Mm-hmm. So now we call it, when we're hiring, it's called Life After 2. So we use that as a selling point to hire people. Now, of course, you need to be a morning person. If you're not a morning person, we're not a good place. We're not a good place for you.
Well, your statement earlier, which was nobody ever lost money selling hamburgers to Americans, I would take it a step further and say, you know, there's a bunch of different categories where the world already knows what you do and how to use your business or your product or your brand. And so we focus on 5 primary categories. That doesn't mean that we won't look at and invest in things around the periphery as well. But those 5 categories are burger, chicken, tacos or Mexican, pizza, and coffee. And not only are they pervasive in American society and candidly, I think foundational, but I think that what American society, culture, and its tremendous marketing machine behind so many of its companies has done a great job of is exporting that culture around the world. I can open up a coffee joint anywhere in the world, and I can guarantee you that that local community knows exactly how to use that brand, that product, that concept. The same is true with pizza. The same is true with chicken. The same is true with tacos and Mexican food. And thank God for the Taco Bells and the Chipotles and so many others that have blazed a trail before us. And that is it, for example, just in the Mexican category, but the same is true in each and every one of those categories. So our primary focus is within these 5 big categories. Mm-hmm. We love these brands, and we think we can bring a higher quality, better experience approach to each and every one of them.
What a great sort of, I don't want to say feel good story, but what a great concept. I'm impressed by the whole thing.
Thank you. Can I just say this quickly?
Yeah,
sorry, just because you said it, I apologize. So like one thing that I always like to get across too to people is you can come into our restaurant or you can get some of our food, and like the goal is for you to just enjoy food and walk out the door if you like. Like that's it. It's no in any way like shoving, no pun intended, shoving anything down your throat. But it's about what we've always been about is like dialogue. So when you come in, you can grub down, have great food, and go out like, man, that was awesome. Like you would in any restaurant.
Right.
But also if you're like, hey, what do you guys do here? Tell me about the design. Tell me about the food. Then we are able to talk about it. But at the end of the day, we're restaurateurs, we're food guys. Like it's just eat, enjoy it, and go. But behind the scenes, there's very methodical work in planning to get you a great plate of food that you can walk out and just be like, hey, man, I enjoyed my lunch. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, but I mean, I just think it's amazing. Again, look, I'm Italian and my wife's Greek. Food is love. I mean, you feed people because you care about them, and your story that behind it all, if people so choose to indulge in it, is a phenomenal one. It's just really, really remarkable.
Growing up, my dad was fascinated with chain restaurants, and he told me, look, we all know how to make a McDonald's hamburger. We know the ingredients. It's not about the McDonald's hamburger. It's how they do it. It's the system they put in place. It's the marketing. It's the brand. It's the people. It's the execution. He said, so, when we look at making a good biscuit, it's pretty simple ingredients. It's self-rising flour, shortening, and buttermilk. It's what do you do with it? How do you market it? How, it's the friendliness. How do you make the people who are buying it feel special? So I call it love. That's how you make a good biscuit.
Now back to the salsa. You have 20 different flavors. I know you're the one that's coming up with a lot of the different formulas. How are you finding that inspiration? I mean, just out there in the world. I mean, you said that the mango habanero came from a meal you had somewhere. Is that pretty much what you're looking at, just trends and things like that?
Yeah, I tell people I'm cursed to have to eat at the nicest restaurants in the nation and read cool food magazines and see what's going on. But yeah, it is that simple, which is not actually simple, is always looking around. You want to see what's on the edge. We developed a bacon queso for a customer. And as you know, a lot of what we do is creating things for other people. Our name's nowhere on it. There's no indication we made it. But people look to us for ideation. I've had grocery chains come to me and they're like, what should we do for a private label salsa? It's going to be our first time. And I don't mean we'll never make the mild, medium, and hot for the big folks. But if they want a pineapple chipotle or something, we're one of the few players that they will come to.
Absolutely. And I would even go a step further. And I'd encourage each and every executive or leader in a franchisor to go work a week. Yeah. And do that every single year in the stores. Because honestly, you don't know what a franchisee goes through. You don't know what a store manager goes through until you've done it. You may have the best degrees on the wall and lots of experience from lots of other brands, but until you really walk a mile and do what they do, then I think you build a tremendous amount of credibility and candidly empathy at the same time.
Sure.
So I think it helps you connect with lots of operators and franchisees.
I really do believe that, the flavor itself, as long as it again is driven by, the demand of the consumer, I think any global flavor has a place on a QSR menu as long as you're putting it on a platform that makes sense, that tastes good, and sometimes putting it around, a cultural moment that really makes sense. Is it trending? Is there, we actually talked about, the Olympics that are about to take off, and, what a great time for brands to be exploring global flavors and being able to tie that to a true cultural moment from a marketing perspective, and having a right to win and a right to play and a really exploratory flavor space by taking advantage of just sort of the outside elements right now. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of really exciting flavor profiles enter the marketplace, like Korean flavors, Korean barbecues, Hawaiian flavors, a lot of spins on more tropical Caribbean flavors. It's been really exciting. I think there's really not much is off limits at this point.
And so there's a lot of history that folks have with the restaurant, and warmth, I think, is one of the big pieces that we try to focus on. I mean, there's the tactical, the steps of service and all of those pieces, but we really try and say, how do we make people feel good and feel happy, feel welcomed? If something is wrong, if there's a miss on food, we will, either replace it or take it out. Like, we do everything that we can to ensure a great experience, because we know that folks are coming in to celebrate those special moments. So we really try and focus on the people first. We have a tremendous staff that I think enjoys the history and kind of being a part of that stewardship of a legacy brand. And it's a ton of fun. And I think we are fortunate that we have had folks that have been with us for a long time to kind of keep that, like a Vanco and a Sergio, over the decades, that have seen the ebb and flow of the city, that have seen the ebb and flow of the restaurant, and have some, a foot kind of in the old Vegas hospitality that folks like to reminisce about. And so we try and bring that and make that real, day in and day out, which is a fun and interesting challenge as a part of the restaurant industry. So, all right, now I'm going to bring up something, I guess, negative or whatever, but inflation is, it affects every industry, especially food.
It's,
How much of an impact has that had on you guys?
We're imported products, so our products are expensive already. And so it's tough. We have to find other opportunities. That's why we invested in this Cafe Spice that makes meals. So maybe we make things more efficient for more of our customers, and look at other opportunities. Maybe source something that's coming from Europe, getting it from South America, and we're always looking for ways to skin. We started importing French fries from Belgium to the East Coast because it's more effective, and looking at opportunities like that. And now we're looking at opportunities in India. I mean, you always have to turn over rocks, look for more opportunities. It's scary, and it's all the news, the price inflation. So we're always looking for newer opportunities to try to make things better for our customers.
Okay, so let's talk back on RoboBurger. Can you share some details about what you're cooking up for the future? I mean, some people want bacon on their burgers. We know the lettuce and tomato thing and fresh vegetable. That can be obviously an issue. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the decisions you made to do things, not to do things, and some potential ideas of what you might do next?
Yeah, so let's talk about lettuce and tomatoes first. The reason we didn't do lettuce and tomatoes first is Dan would always say is because of E. coli and some of the challenges there and being able to detect it. It actually is just another hurdle for the operator, and our goal is trying to reduce hurdles for the operator to be able to deliver RoboBurger to their end consumer. So that's why we're not offering it in our first iterations of these units. In time, we'd like to offer it. But actually, the operators that we've been working with haven't been asking for that so much. But we'd love to be able to do it so that way we can do more brand partnerships with some of the bigger fast food companies that are out there that do use lettuce and tomatoes. In terms of bacon, we would like to do bacon. We're not sure how or when. We definitely want to add it to our lineup.
Airports are a wonderful place to do business. Again, I share with you briefly how I matriculated into them, but once you end up in this kind of ecosystem, it's hard to walk away. We get the privilege of serving the traveling public every day. And what's special about that are the passengers are dynamic. There are people who are going on business trips. There are people who are going on vacations. There are people who are going to be celebrated. And there are people who are going to, usher people off into a transition of life. And we get to meet and connect with them all. And so I tell our crew members that we have the privilege of participating in whatever journey people are on every day. And then the following day, we get a whole new group of people coming through. So that's dynamic. And the industries are small. I will tell you, it's about a $8 billion industry nationally in the United States, food and beverage and airports. But the industry is really controlled by about 20 key companies. And within those 20 companies, you probably have 50 total key players. And so we know each other. You typically don't leave the industry. Your business card may change. So you may go from company to company, but it's a small ecosystem